Hi, welcome back to Black Girl Magic Book Chat. I am Larissa, the African American Resource Center Coordinator, and every Thursday this week, I will be chatting with you about a book that I have read by a Black female author. So this week, I read Freshwater by Akwaeke Emezi. And this book was, I think I'm still trying to figure that out. I'm still trying to unpack it. This probably won't be a long video because it is a book that I think requires a little bit more sitting in, so I can kind of, really think about the material. After I read it, I felt heavy, I think. And so I did read an interview with the author after reading this book. And so that did inform my interpretation a little bit, which I'll tell you about as I get further into it. So, Freshwater. This book is about, according to the little flap on the inside, Ada, a young Nigerian girl who has always been seen as trouble. As a baby, she cried a lot, she yelled a lot, she was prone to fits of violence and anger. And for a family whose previous and subsequent kids, so she's the middle kid, her big brother and her younger sister, who are a little bit quieter, a little bit more easygoing, that was kind of difficult. And so the book tells us about her life in Nigeria. And so we learn a little bit about her parents, his relationship, their struggles together, who they are as people, and kind of why Ada was born. And so we learn a little bit about her life. We learn about her relationship with her siblings, some of her friends, and then she moves to America to go to college. And that is when the book really takes a turn and it gets a little bit more intense. And so without telling you the entire story, we do find out that she is sexually assaulted by a boy she's seeing, and this leads her down this path of sex and drugs, and she crawls more into herself. So what makes this book really fascinating is that it is told from the perspectives of the multiple identities that live inside Ada. And so there's we, and we get names, Smoke and Shadow by young Ada, but we're still, as readers, we only know them as we. And they have been with Ada since before she was born. So they talk about their birth through Ada. We are an Ogbanje, which is an Igbo evil spirit, who was sent through Ada by a mother god, Allah. It is spelled A-L-A. So then we've got we. Then there's Asagora, who is a little bit wild and untethered, and then born to Ada after Ada's assaulted and is there to keep her safe. She loves vices. She likes the feeling of being high, like feeling good. And so alcohol and marijuana, and although sex is kind of her vice of choice with men who are dark and often cruel. And then there's Saint Vincent, who is coded as male, and he is quiet and the more gentle of them all, with desires for women and least likely to take control. So in this book, on the surface, we have a book about a woman with mental illness. The book even kind of talks about Ada's attempt to go to therapy with multiple. And so in therapy, these terms come out. We've got multiple personality disorder or dissociative identity disorder. But what's really happening is that readers have to think about faith and religion and how much of it is to be believed. Both we and Asagura are spirits with their own thoughts, their own desires, their own reasons for being inside of Ada. Not granted, neither of them necessarily chose her. In fact, they do talk about the troubles of having a human host. A host that is, with all the troubles that come with being human, right? The humanness, the compassion, the biology, the love for other humans, which they, think is ridiculous. And then there is Saint Vincent, who's a little bit more of Ada's own making, but clearly there to show Ada's gender fluidity, for she's not fully human and the gender binary is obsolete here, right? Because she is a person who has spirits inside of her, and these spirits, her body is not her own, essentially. She shares this vessel, and so, what is gender when you are a spirit, essentially? And so we, the spirits, we even kind of tell, the readers about Ada's surgical reconstruction in order to make her body more neutral. And so this book is, according to the author, semi-autobiographical. Like I told you, I did read that interview, and Akwaeke Emezi is like Ada in that they are transgender and also an Obenje. And in their interview, they tell us that this book is not a metaphor. It's easy to think so, right? Regardless of the influence of Christianity, specifically in the West and the United States, science still is kind of at the forefront of a lot of our minds, right? Although I will concede that with people do think that people get possessed. We know that exorcisms were performed, and so people who are Christian do believe in this demonic possession. So I'm not saying that Ada or Izumi was possessed. I'm just trying to draw that parallel. But we still we see a person who has these different identities, and at least my first instinct is not to say, oh, this person is possessed, this person is a spirit. My first thing is to say they are ill, right? And so Emezi was like, no, this is me. This is, I am transgender and I am an Obenje, right? And so Emezi is Igbo, from this Nigerian culture. And so this is a Nigerian spirit, although their mother is Indian Tamil, maybe from Malaysia. Ada's mother in the book is from Malaysia, but I can't say for sure about the author. But in this culture, this is real, right? This is who they are. And so Ada Ada, we're talking about the book, Ada is the body for this spirit and these other entities. And it really, really makes you think about this idea of spirits versus body, right? Because I even think about the fact that we, in spiritually, we think we have souls. There are many people who say that we have souls, right? And so what are these entities if they're not souls? They just, are allowed to take over Ada's body when they feel like they need to. They share this body. So she just, maybe she has these different souls in her body. But it makes me think about this idea of spirits and bodies and how these two are connected, especially for people who are believers of various religions. And as a person who is still, exploring religion and what it means for me, I think that's really why I said I'm like still sitting in it. I felt really heavy, right? Because there are so many beliefs and so many ways that people can prove their beliefs. And it really makes me wonder, like, what's real and what, how things manifest. And in all of that, the book was beautifully written. The language is a little heavy. It's not I'm a fast reader. I can get through a book in a day. And although it only took me a few days to read it, but it was very much a sit in the quiet and, pay attention and read. But it is beautifully done. And it is truly a fascinating look at a different culture, which I really appreciated. And I give it 5 stars. I do. Just because I'm still thinking about it. I finished it yesterday and I have been thinking about it since. So Freshwater, Akwaeke Emezi. I don't know what I'm going to read next week. I think I want to read something with a little bit more joy. So I'm not sure yet. If you have an idea, let me know in the comments. And I'll see y'all next week. Bye.